Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh, well, that means red wine, right?
Exactly. Or,
A little red sauce?
I'm thinking.
You know, the marinara sauce aisle at the grocery store these days, Carol?
Yeah.
Not what it was like when I was a kid. Where it was like all Classico and Prego. Remember that? It really was.
Can I just wait? Before you go on, I'm just going to say my mom has always made homemade.
Wow.
I know. I was spoiled. But go ahead. Go on.
Wow.
Go on. Because not everybody
No shade to Susan Stenovec.
She was also a stay-at-home mom for a while, so she could do that.
Well, the aisle has moved upscale with more boutique options, including Rao's and the sauce from our next guest company. Eric Skae is CEO at Carbone Fine Food. It's the maker of marinara, spicy vodka, tomato basil, arrabbiata. You like that?
Wow.
I practiced that one earlier. Alfredo and more.
That's
Eric joins us
where you
here.
went. You disappeared for like an hour or so.
I was just holding a bottle in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Eric, good to see you. Okay, Carol and I were talking about this. Carbone Fine Foods.
Right.
Carbone the restaurant, which is owned by Major Food Group. Let's start there. What's the relationship? Just settle the score for us.
Major Food Group is majority owners of Carbone Fine Food.
Okay. And inspired by the restaurant?
Inspired by the restaurant, yes.
What you get in a jar at the grocery store from Carbone marinara, do you get that at the restaurant Carbone?
Yes, I mean as close representation as you can make going
But that's the
into
idea.
Commercial kitchen. Absolutely.
Okay.
All fresh ingredients, tomatoes from Italy, onions are chopped on site, garlic's minced on site, basil is hand stripped on site as we produce the product, and it cooks for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, meeting your homemade taste. We look for restaurant quality. And Mario Carbone is very passionate about that. So he tastes everything.
I kind of love it when I roll over to ingredients and what you're seeing is everything I understand. And there's no chemicals, there's no nothing like that. I mean, that to me is super important. How do you, though, make sure that it is as good as the restaurant?
So, I mean, look, we're very, very involved in the manufacturing of this. So the first year, I tasted personally every single batch before it was allowed to go in a jar.
How'd that go?
Now, obviously, I have a staff now. How'd it go? 100,000 miles on United without leaving the country. I live in Las Vegas, so that's my fault.
How many times did you taste something you're like, nope, nope, nope? It sounds like a lot.
Not that often, because I work with people that I trust that are very, very good at doing this. It's a very specialized process. No one wants to cook for an hour in a manufacturing facility.
Right.
So those who do it are as passionate as I am about it.
How do you control that? Because, I mean, I would imagine you have manufacturing facilities in several parts of the country. It's not necessarily centralized in one place. There's
it is.
Ingredient variabilities based on seasons and those tomatoes that you do get from Italy. How do you control for those things?
So the tomatoes you get from Italy are going to be fairly consistent. They come in. We open up number 10 cans just like the back of a restaurant. So it's not big drums of tomatoes. They're packed just in tomato season, and that's the tomato we use. So I mean, to your point, I might be able to taste a slight variation in fresh basil because it was hand stripped at a different time. We've never gotten a complaint.
Go ahead.
Is it in
please.
different parts of the country where you actually do the manufacturing?
No, most of it's here in the East Coast. We have a couple of co-packers set up that we work with, but we have a primary that does a good majority of it.
All right, great bottle, Carbone name, very prominent. Why are they doing this? Why do they need to do this?
You know, that would be a question for Mario. But you know, as I've seen him ask that question, he's got X amount of restaurants, and not everybody can get to his restaurants, and people want to get there.
Yeah.
So he wanted to put something in a jar that represented the restaurant and allowed people to taste the experience of Carbone. And that's why we're so passionate about what goes in that jar, tasting better than anything. Our recipes on our site were developed by Carbone chefs. So we've kind of kept them simple so the home cook can make it, but they're really good recipes.
Does it create a significant revenue stream potentially? I mean, you understand this industry. You're a former CEO of Rao's, someone who's been in the food and beverage, area for a long time. Is it something though, when you have a name that's known, that you can build a significant revenue line?
Yeah. I mean, we just finished our third full year. We've done 18 million jars since we launched. We're in 24,000 accounts, and we're the number 7 brand in America. number 2 in natural foods. So it's went very, very fast. And it is in large part because we had a name that we could leverage from a awareness standpoint.
Yeah.
Awareness was not massive in the Midwest, for example, but it was known by enough people to start something.
Yeah.
And then then the blocking and tackling happens. So building a brand.
Okay, so this is not your first rodeo, as Carol mentioned, your first red sauce rodeo. 2016 to 2018, CEO of Rao's. That was the period it was acquired by Sovos for more than $400 million. Then a couple of years later, I believe it was, 2021? 2024? Yeah, 2024.
Yeah.
Sovos closed its acquisition, or when Sovos was bought by Campbell's for $2.7 billion.
Yep.
Obviously, some big growth in the space over the last few years. What do you see as driving the growth, and how much growth is left in sort of the premiumization?
I think it's significant because of the premiumization. Right? Rao's started that trend when they put the first jar on the shelf in 1992. So if you think about it, it's a long time ago. So this has been a long, slow build. The consumer, and you think about other categories like craft beer, right? That premiumized years ago. So ice cream premiumized with Ben & Jerry's years ago. The premiumization in every category is happening. Pasta sauce finally got its turn, around 2015, 2016, where it started to really, really drive from a premiumization standpoint. And people are just looking for healthier, better ingredients.
I agree. Listen, I can't tell you. I've got a 21-year-old, and the same thing. We turn everything around, and we want to know what's in it, and we want to make sure we understand the ingredients. I am curious how big you think it can be, how big you want this brand to be, and is it a case of you're going to follow the model of selling it off at some point?
There's no decisions made. My partners are young. Jeff, Mario, and Rich are in their 40s, right? I'm the old guy in the room, and I love what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm in no rush, and I actually, I would have never envisioned doing a startup. I went from Rao's to another run where I took a company through an exit, and I didn't want to do that. So that's why I went to startup. So we don't have a timeline. We believe there's a tremendous amount of growth, not only in sauce, but in Italian. Like, we have a platform brand that I could, if we wanted to, go beyond. We see a significant amount of growth in sauce in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing anything. I believe in maniacal focus when something's working. So it's working.
Yeah.
$8 to $10 roughly.
Give or take, yeah.
For a jar. Mm-hmm. Are you seeing any pushback from consumers on higher price stuff as we speak?
Not that I'm seeing. I mean, of course, people will make comments. Friends in general, or my brother who waits till it's on sale to buy it. But
we all have brothers like that.
But for the most part, I think
you can't hook them up. I mean, come on.
I think Rao's has. I give Rao's a lot of credit, and the people before me who built Rao's slowly and painstakingly. Right, they really did a good job, and they built a model, and they built the category. So that 8 to 10 is not sticker shock for everybody anymore. It is for certain people. And I get it. But once you try that product, the amount of care we put into what goes in that jar, it's worth it.
Here's a problem, Carol.
What?
Feeding your kid the pasta sauce that you buy as adults.
Yeah.
Because then they get hooked on it. And then you find yourself in situations like us ordering huge jars.
No.
And then they're like, I want, the
That's
Rao's.
a problem?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the expensive pasta sauce.
And that's the thing. I mean, not every pasta sauce is the same. No doubt about it. How do you manage the growth or the expansion of the brand in a careful, thoughtful way? And do you need to?
Yeah, of course I do. I think brand is everything. So you have to make sure it's working before, if you've got initiatives and something's not working, fix that before you move to the next thing, right? We grew fast because it was working. But had I saw, some resistance, I would have worked on figuring out that resistance before I expanded. I started in the Northeast, and my intention was to stay there for 18 months. Huh. But within 18 months, I was national, right? And I didn't expect that. The intention was to go slow. I didn't expect it to go as fast as it did.
So stores were asking for you guys, or what?
We had stores asking for us. We had, everything. The customer that I thought would adopt it immediately took 1.5 years, which was Whole Foods. But we started in 21.
Yeah.
Pandemic, a lot going on, buyer changes, so on and so forth. So it took a little longer with that particular chain, but now if you go into Whole Foods, we're very well represented.
Hey, one thing I noticed about your career is you've been in this industry for decades at this point, and you started off, you've really rode the wave of different trends at different points in your career, like the juices in the early part of your career, Fresh Samantha's, Naked, Odwalla's, and those sorts of things, and then popcorn, Rayo's a little later in your career. What's the trend that you're seeing play out right now? Sort of the next trend.
It's really hard to say in today's world. It's gotten muddy, but anything that's going to be higher protein is on point. You did a segment on GLP-1s. That's going to drive, I think, new innovation.
That's real, right?
Yeah, and healthy innovation. Everything points to at least a doubling in usage in the next call it 5 years, and the households that are on it, they're actually showing a decline in how much they purchase at grocery stores. So it's interesting. Much bigger decline in convenience stores, because if you think about snacking, right, that's what's going to get hurt, right? I think good food is always going to do well. That's the way I look at it, and healthy food, because those people, just having interviewed a couple, they tend to get healthy. Some of them tend to get healthier at the same time.
How does that happen?
So they're looking for better ingredients.
Is it like the visceral reminder that you're stabbing yourself with?
Don't know.
A pen weekly?
Well, I think,
or something?
I know initially from folks who've done it too, I mean, they don't like the taste of food, right? And so they kind of, I don't know, they almost kind of go through a little bit of a cleansing to some extent. And think, I don't know, it's just interesting to watch.
That could be. I do have a daughter that is using it, and that when I say I interviewed someone, it's close. It's close to me.
Yeah.
But she's like at Barry's boot camp in the morning now, and really healthy.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's great to
really
see.
cool.
You do wonder if it's a case of, and not necessarily for your daughter, but others who tried to lose weight, couldn't lose weight, or whether it's because they're diabetic or whatever, and finally can, and I think it feels really good. They feel so much healthier.
Sure.
And I think want to kind of stay in that place would be my gut. But so I'm curious, if GLP-1 is really ultimately the driving force in a lot of the food companies, is it upstarts that all of a sudden become the giants, or do the giants have to buy the upstarts because they've got to catch up and they evolve, they're disrupted? Like, how do you see that playing out?
I think it's all of the above. I think you have new product development going on in big food already, would be my bet. I mean, I don't know that certainly, but that would be my bet. And they're going to look at upstarts, because sometimes buying growth is easier than creating it. So,
what about the beverage space? We've been talking a lot about non-alcoholics, kind of a tease for some of our conversations on our weekend broadcast, but we often do, no joke, a wine segment on Friday or a liquor segment. And we've already had a couple of non-alcoholic guests.
Yeah, our
over
pursuit
the last few
section
weeks.
in our Bloomberg Businessweek, the year ahead. Is it the year ahead issue, or is it's just like kind of a preview?
Yeah,
No.
I'm not sure which issue.
Well,
it is,
anyway,
but yeah.
there's a huge section on non-alcoholic drinks, and the innovation that's happening there is pretty incredible. Are you seeing that among the folks you're kind of in part of a group where you've been innovators in the food industry for the past 20, 25 years?
yeah, I mean, massive trend. The whole move to non-alcoholic is really being pushed by Gen Z, who's just not drinking as much. And having kept in touch with a lot of folks I know in the beer industry. I sold a lot of beer distributors and have a lot of friends that sell beer distributors. They're struggling. I mean, when I say struggling, they're struggling for growth.
Yeah.
I can't say their businesses are struggling. It's just they're not selling as much as they used to, and they're having to make the necessary changes to that. But a lot of them are getting into non-alc in a big way.
I mean, Constellation Brands lost almost a fifth of its value recently
Yeah.
when they missed quarterly sales estimates, citing lackluster consumer demand.
I mean,
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
This gentleman next to me, my co-host, I mean, you're a non-alcoholic folk.
Yeah, it's the
Part of that group.
and I noticed it among friends too, where everybody's
Yeah.
drinking less at this point. So back to Carbone and the innovation here. I was pretty shocked when I was preparing for this, and I went to the website to see just how many varieties you have of this.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a plan to push beyond red sauce, or is it just variations on the red sauce?
So we're in
red sauce?
we're in red already. We're in white already. So we've got Alfredos on the shelf, and 5 of them in Whole Foods. They all haven't been announced. Red, I think I still have ideas. So there's going to be new reds. Like we just launched one. Puttanesca is a famous Italian sauce, but it just doesn't sell in the United States. People don't understand the word, and anchovies are polarizing. So I created Mediterranean marinara, which is with olives and capers. And I took the anchovies out, and we took the name off, and we're going to see how it does. It's on the shelves in one retailer right now, an initial Initial pull looks very strong. So, we'll see where that goes. So white will be a definitely a drive. Pesto will be in the future. I have some. I have something that I'll announce at some point.
Give us a little hint.
That it is going to be interesting in the red space.
But you're still in sauces. You don't see it moving beyond sauces.
Not for the foreseeable future, because if something's working, why would I dilute the focus of my team, myself, my chef? We have a full-time chef that does nothing but develop things for me.
Wow.
I mean, you look at the website, right, too, and you do have, some little gift sets that you do that you can buy with some pasta. Is
Good
that
apparel selection too?
Yeah. I mean, do you expand this out too, potentially?
So I got to tell you, Mario Carbone designed that apparel, and it's amazing. And like the celebrities that have been seen wearing that apparel so far, it's a great marketing tool. Mario himself is a fashion designer, so it's just really been helpful to us. So I see us doing a little there. I don't think it'll never become a primary business. The gift sets will never become a primary business, but they're a reminder. When you get a gift and there's Carbone in it, it reinforces the brand.
Hey, I think a lot of people see Carbone in the grocery store and they equate it with Rayo's and sort of that same level of premium. Contextualize for us their scale versus your scale right now, and to what extent you're sort of nipping at their heels.
I mean, they're likely at this point. I have to do some math, but 8 times bigger than us in sauce, 9 times bigger than us in sauce. It's interesting because initially I thought we would be pulling a lot from Rayo's, but we have a Gen Z millennial consumer. If you think about the owners of the company, they're in that age group. If you think about how they hit pop culture, right? Everybody wants to go to Carbone, and then they talk about it when they go to Carbone. So we get all of that awareness from the restaurants, and it is to a younger consumer. So I don't think we've bothered Rayo's at all. I mean, as a matter of fact, their growth, given their size, is still very strong.
Wow.
So, I mean, look, we're the fastest growing in America, but we're 6 spots behind them in the list, right? So, my goal is to get there one day.
What are you having for dinner tonight?
What am I having for dinner? I will be on a plane.
I knew I was going to say we have to let him go. He's got to get to Newark Airport.
Probably a Cliff Bar.
I'm so sorry.
All that flying from Vegas, it's not even a hub. So you're like doing a lot of connecting flights.
United to Newark's not bad.
Okay,
it's correct. I'm
okay.
good.
Keep us up to date when you're ready to talk about the next thing.
I will for sure. I mean, we always have development going on, and it would be great to let you know about it.
All right, Eric Skae, thank you so much. CEO of Carbone Fine Food, joining us right here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Thank you.